Okay, today we wrap up section 5.3 with two different activities. You are going to listen very carefully to this part. Then you're going to go to Math XL, do a quick 5-question assignment. I believe it's just 5 questions, and then you're going to get the worksheet. And we're going to spend the rest of the day kind of working on this part here, which is the hardest version of writing the equation of a line. So make sure you write this down, because this is really what it all comes down to. When asked to find the equation of a line, we need two things. We need the slope, which represents m. We need the y-intercept, which represents b. Again, write that down for yourself and make sure you are ready whenever we begin talking through this. Now, this was last week's work. It says, what is the equation of a line with a slope of 6 that passes through 411? So what we did was we started with y equals mx plus b. And we noticed that this was m, that this was x, and this was y. And so all we had to do was take and plug in what we know. That 11 was y, so we put 11 there. That m is 6. That x is 4 plus b, that it turns into 11 equals 24 plus b, that in order to get b by itself we must subtract 24, and 11 minus 24 is negative 13. And so in the end, here's my m, here's my b, it's y equals 6x minus 13. And again, you could check that out by putting 4 in there. So 6 times 4 minus 13, which again 6x minus 13 matches, and notice that my answer of 11 matches the answer of y, which is what you're looking for. Again, this is what we did last week, where I gave you a slope and a point. Keeping in mind we had to find two things. Notice we didn't have to look for m, we simply had to look for b. The problem with today's work, at least the worksheet that you're going to be doing, is that they give you neither. So in problem 2 and problem 3, you are going to see that this is not as easy as what it was. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means you have to do some work. Again, you have to ask yourself, what is m? What is b? Because right now, it does not give us a slope. But keep in mind, we can find a slope by simply making our chart, like we did before, taking this point, putting it here, 2, 7, taking this point, putting it here, 4, 15. We then take and subtract 15 minus 7 on top, 4 minus 2 on the bottom. That turns into 8 over 2, which if you type in 8 over 2 or divide it, which you probably can do it in your head, you get the answer of 4. That means that my slope is 4. Now that we have a slope, it becomes kind of like yesterday's work or last week's work, where all I have to do is choose one point. It does not matter which point I pick, and I'm going to work both of these points out just to show you it doesn't matter which one you pick. But usually what I do is I just circle a point, and that way my eyes know where to go. So for me, this is x and this is y. And I will write the formula y equals mx plus b. And based off of this point, I put 7 in for y because that is y. M in this case is 4, we just found it. X is 2 plus b. 7 equals 8 plus b, which means I need to subtract 8 from both sides to get negative 1 for b, which means that my answer is y equals, m here is 4x minus 1. But let me just show you that even if you chose this point as your x and your y, it still should work out the same. In this case, y was 15, m is still 4 because that's the slope, x is 4 plus b. 15 comes down with 16 plus b. Subtract your 16 and notice 15 minus 16 is still negative 1, and you still get y equals 4x minus 1. So my point is, the only difference between today's work and last week's work is that you have to actually find m first and then use that in your y equals mx plus b after you choose a point. I typically choose the first point, but again, we will talk about this whenever everyone gets done with their Math XL and the video, so that we can kind of walk through it and start getting better at it. I do not think that we will master this today, but I'll probably give you one question like this per day so you can start working on getting better at it, at least for the test that's coming up. Problem 3 says, what's the equation of a line passing through 6, 8, and 5, 11? Again, I need m and I need b. That is what I told you to write down in the beginning. I do not know what m is, so I simply do my xy chart, putting 6, 8 in the first slot, 5, 11 in the second slot. On top, I do 11 minus 8. On bottom, I do 5 minus 6. This ends up being 3 over negative 1, which is negative 3. That is my m, that is my slope. And again, all I have to do now, notice from before, it does not matter which point I pick. I usually just pick the first point, and then I label one of those as x and one of those as y, and I go to my magic formula, y equals mx plus b. I then read this information and say y in this case is 8, m is negative 3, x is 6, and then the rest of that stays. Here that turns into 8 equals negative 18 plus b. The way that I get rid of this 18 is by adding it to both sides, getting 26 for b. Here is my m, here is my b. My final answer is y equals negative 3x plus 26. And again, to check it, just plug this in. Negative 3 times 5 plus 26 should give me 11 as an answer, and you can see that it does, which is what tells you that you know you did it right. Okay, so that's the first part of the day's work. The second part, which is really what your Math Excel is about, is you translating word problems into application problems. So just keep in mind, you might want to write this. If you know it, that's fine, you don't need to write it, but some of you, and this is about our fourth time talking about this, some of you need to remember that per, each, and every represent that number gets a variable. So use it to translate word problems. In problem 4, which is very similar to what you're going to see today on your Math Excel, it says Joseph pays $400 in advance on his phone bill. Each month $55 is deducted from his account. It wants a linear equation that represents the amount remaining after X months. This is still going to be a y equals equation. The thing you have to understand is, notice that 400 has no keywords to it. I don't see 400 each. I don't see anything. That means that 400 is just a regular number. But every month, each month, which is a keyword, $55 is deducted. Well, think about what deducted means. It means that if there was 400 in my account and I deduct $55, it doesn't go up. It actually goes down. So I would subtract 55x because it's 55 each month. That is how you find out where the variable goes. Alright, you can either do y equals 400 minus 55x, or if you like it better with the mx plus b, you could put negative 55x because it's deducted, plus 400 because that is a regular number. Either one of those two will work on your computer program. Just make sure you understand how to do that process. That's the main thing. Okay. The last thing I want to do is a real quick review on graphing. If you are asked to graph the line y equals 2/3 x minus 4, keep in mind that everything we've done so far revolves around m and b. Also remember that m was always attached to x, so m in this case is 2/3. That's my slope. And that b is the number that's all by itself, which is negative 4. Also keep in mind that you need to start marking down your numbers in terms of what you're counting by on your x and y axis, and that the first letter we deal with is b, because for me the way I think about it is alphabetically b goes first. Remember that negative 4 for b tells me to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and put a dot. And then remember that m represents my rise over my run. And so from there I go up to and right, always right, 3, and then I draw my line all the way across this region. And that is your graphing review. Now you don't have any graphs, I don't think, really today to worry about, but tomorrow we will be getting back into graphing, so you want to make sure you kind of keep that in mind. Other than that, go to Math Excel. There is a quick 5-second translation exercise on these questions. Answer those. If you have an issue with that, please bring your computer to me so that I can try to help you understand what's going on. And then go to the worksheet that's on the computer cart and work on that for a few minutes until everybody's done. Then we'll talk about the adjustment to their equation stuff. Good luck.